Okay, now let's start making things. This is where we might start differentiate depending the architecture you picked. In my case, as I said, I will just pick the latest version. I will remove every single file from the original, from the launcher, and then rebuild every single file. But if you don't do this and actually you want to save time and space and processing as well, and only remove the files that is not in the request, or actually make remove field and add field, and in the remove you're gonna remove only listed ones and request only the new ones, is up to you. All right, in my case I will just remove and create every single file. All right, so let's start. First of all, I will create a variable called statement. So in SQL and DML and DDL and so on, the comments we use are called statements, right? So this is a state. A statement will use PDO, prepare. You might want to use prepare. You might want to use the function carry, but I like to use the prepare. I like to use the bind param, so there is the chance to have an SQL injection is lower, so I will use prepare. All right, prepare allow us to replace more carefully some data that will be sent to us. So prepare, I will select all. The select all is a part of the statement that check and carry every single table from, and the table I'm checking on. The order by basically sort the result based in a field. In this case, I'm order by, I forgot, ID. So the latest version in theory that have the highest ID will be showed first, and then the lowest one in a desk order. I'm descending order. All right, if you don't use the desk or use ask, this will be ascending order, so will be something like 1 2 3. But if you use desk order, will be something like 10 9 8 and so on. This limit is always a good practice, mainly for APIs, to limit the amount of data you're gonna retrieve. In this case, I will just limit to 1 because every single file will be within one tuple, one set of data. All right, so everything I want is just in a single line. So I do not need the rest. So this saves process. Actually, not that much, because I'm pretty sure that the database, it doesn't matter. It will check open this every single part. All right, depending the page they naturally do. So it's the same thing. If my page in the DBS in the database manager is 500, 600, it will check this 600 as well. All right. So then I will call the statement execute. Oops, it's not underscore execute. So this will run my SQL, and I will create another variable called result. This result will be equal to this statement calling fetch all method with passing the constant PDO fetch a sock. So this line basically declare a variable called result and use this statement to fetch all results from the database. using passing, actually it's two columns. Passing this on PHP to access constant variables from classes use double colon. I don't remember if it's just limited to it, but it's where how I learned. This fetch associative, basically, by default, the table names will be retrieved, and also it is order. So for example, if you have a table called doors, right? It have, for example, the name of the door and the material. Without the fetch associative, it will return like doors x and 0x, materials y, 1y. So it will retrieve the name of the field and it is order. All right, it's cool if you want. Actually might be way faster if you want. All right, so I will for loop for each result I got as row, for example. This will be used a lot throughout other functions, and since I just need one, I will return the first row. All right, if no row uh, return, I will throw an exception. That is no valid version, and 500. That is internal error. So in this case, it's my fault as a developer to not add the blessed the blessing versions into the database. All right, so this will list us retrieve all the latest the latest version of my launcher of my game. All right, so now let's do the cool part of everything, that is downloading the game. All right, so I'll use get method as well, get game files, that will use as well data and PDO. So what is the workflow? Our launcher will request the first one, get game version, and compare if it is the same. If it's not, we'll call get games file using the version that come from the first method, the first request actually, and download each game file. All right, passing the version and it is file. Since I need these two data, I should validate. All right, I must validate. Actually, I'll do it. So let me check, because it's pretty easy and fast. So let me check. So I'll check if the data does not have the key files and neither the key version. I will launch the possibility of the file, actually is files, being either an array or a string separated by comma. All right, so but I should treat as an array. So I'll check if string, so if is a string data files. But there is a chance that the sender only sent one file, but don't add the comma. So just to check, just to make sure, I will check if the string does not contain comma. So if it does not, data in the position of files dot equals to append comma. So inside of the first if is a string. So now I will explode. That is the same thing of split. All right. So files will be equals to explode, passing the separator and the string. Then I will create a variable called files. This is where I will store the data to send back to the launcher and download. Actually, it's inside of this if, I'm sorry. So let me create files again. So now I will check, I will loop for each file, for each data, files as file. So I will check. So how this will work? I will have files and version. I will create folders with the name of the version and every single file inside of it. All right. So my folder will be something like this. I have the root where my API is. So there is the index, and then I will have the folders such as 0.2, and inside of it I will have the files, right? So I must check if the file exists. So I'll check if the file is 0 or empty or null. Actually, it's just like this. Or the file does not exist. I will just continue. All right. This if literally just check if the file is empty or 0 or null, or if the file does not exist, and inside of that version of the folder is /file. All right. So if exist, I will append a new object. So in PHP, to append to the end of the file, you can use empty square brackets, all right? And this will be an associative array. So will be the name of the file, that it will be the actually it's not exactly name, it's path, right? So I will use path version plus or concatenate the file name and base 64 of the file get contents, and then in the end of the function we return the files array. All right, so what this line do, just append to the end of the array the path that is the version / name of the file and the base64 encoded version of that file. So we have the file name, that is this version slash file, and we have the file get contents that I already explained, but basically, actually I didn't explain, but this function get the contents of a file. So for example, if a file is a txt, it gets the text inside of it. If it is an image, for example, it gets the image. So you can use this to load any type of file you want. And the base64 encode, I'm sorry, I wrote this wrongly. I missed the encode. This base64 encode basically encodes, so it's not an encryption, it's just a way to transmit the data into the base64. So we have the bits, that is base 2, we have octadecimal, that is base 8, we have hexadecimal, that is the base 16, and we have the base64, that is a good and very practical and very used way to transmit data between requests. All right, so this basically appends to this object and then returns it. Right, so in theory we are already able to handle the game file. All right, guys, and I forgot to say that here we will as well set this to file. The file will be our base64. All right, so path will be the version slash the file, and the file itself will be the base64. Here in the input data, right in the beginning, right, I used to have if in this only this part, if empty input data as the new std class, but it's wrong, because since my default data is two curly brackets, I gotta check as well if my input data is equals to this. All right, and not only this, I have to check as well if my input data is a string, because there is a chance that this is just a plain string. Actually, this is the default path, so I gotta transform this string into JSON object. All right, so basically I added an else if is a string input data is equals to JSON decode input data, and I added a new part of this a new clause to this condition with our input data is equals to quotes curly brackets. Then since I send data, I gotta change this instead of get games files to post games files. I'm sorry, I was very stupid into naming this with get and trying to send something in the body. All right, so this is not get game files, but post game files. And lastly, I mistype here, and here was file, but this is not my array, it's files. All right, so this part will become $sign files square brackets. All right,